hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to my channel. Please share, like, and drop a comment on the comment section. Okay, so today we are going to be looking at the political philosophy of Plato. Political philosophy of Plato. Okay, so Plato was actually born in ancient Greece in 1420 and he died in 348 BC. Okay, during his time, you know, during his time, okay, Greece was actually divided into smaller, smaller city states called polis. Okay, so he lived, so the polis in Athens actually had, you know, a population of what, of 300,000. Okay, and this population is actually divided into three sections. Okay, one of the sections, of this population is called the free or legal citizens. The second section was actually called the metics, and the third section were actually called the slave. Okay, he was actually a student of Socrates. Okay, so those are the things. Now Plato was a student of Socrates. He had a school called the academy. Now he actually disagreed with Socrates, which was his master, on actually trying to question everything that anyone says, and argued that instead of doing that, attention should be focused on issue of forms of government. Okay, and so in trying to provide answer to the question of the forms of government, Plato actually compared the society as an individual man. Okay, he compared the society to an individual man. He still went ahead to say that man is made, just like man is made up of three parts, that is the brain, the heart, and the stomach. And the brain actually performs the function of thinking, and it is actually the philosophic part of man, and of course, okay, so that is actually the philosophic part of man, the brain. Then we also have the heart. Okay, the heart is the spirited part of man, and the stomach is the appetitic part of man for satisfaction of pleasure. Now he went ahead to further assert that, okay, that, just like the human body actually function, the society is also divided into three parts. According to him, we have the rulers, the warriors, and the farmers or the artisans to provide, to provide food, for the society. Okay, now going back to the question of how the society must actually, be organized, or the forms of political organization, Plato's answer is that political organization where the philosopher becomes the king, or the king becomes the philosopher, is actually the best political society. Okay, he talked about the fact that he brought about the concept of philosopher king, and that they are the ones that are thinkers. Okay, and by implication, they are the only ones that can actually rule or administer an ideal society. Now he went ahead to talk about the fact that after then, to talk about the fact that when the society is actually divided into, these three set of people, okay, the first set of people are actually called, the philosophers. The second set of people are called the warriors, and the third set of people are actually called, either the artisans or the farmers. According to him, in the academy, once he proposed that once a child is born, such a child should actually be taken to the academy. After 8 years, an examination should be conducted. Those that will pass that exams should move to the next class, while those that were not able to pass should remain, in the first class, So after another 8 years, another examination should be conducted. Those that were able to pass should actually move to the next stage. Okay, while the ones that couldn't pass at the first sitting should actually go to the society to become farmers and artisans. Now, the second stage, those that were able to actually pass, okay, should move to the third stage, and those that couldn't pass that stage should become the warriors. Okay, now those that went into the next stage, okay, which is the third stage, should, he called them that they are the philosophers. And those ones, according to him, when they graduate from the school, they should not actually marry, in fact, they should not be married. According to Plato, philosophers should not be married. And the reason being that, marriage is actually the genesis of corruption in the society. Now, once a man gets married, the next thing that he does is that he starts corruptly enriching himself. He becomes self-centered, individualistic, and he becomes very greedy. So marriage, according to him, is actually the genesis of corruption in the society. So the best thing that the philosopher should do is to actually sleep around. Okay, so a philosopher should actually look for, and if he wants to sleep, he should not sleep around with any kind of woman. He should look for a philosopher like himself and sleep with, because once that is done, the product of that intercourse is actually going to come out to become a philosopher. Okay, so those are the things. Now, he actually, was a disciple, he was a student of Socrates, and according to him, Socrates was actually teaching them justice. He was teaching them about justice. Okay, and he was executed because he wanted to liberate the young men in the society. Okay, and he was executed because, of course, the government thought that Socrates was actually teaching his students, he was corruptly teaching his students how to become revolutionary in the society. Meanwhile, Plato looked at it that that was not actually a democratic society, and that was why Plato hated the concept of democracy, because he thought that it was because of democracy that his master was killed. Okay, so because his master was actually teaching liberation, he was teaching justice, he was teaching equality, he was teaching equity, and all of that. So according to Socrates, okay, that the ancient Greek system, justice was actually tied to the standard of doing things. Okay, and if justice was actually tied to the standard of doing things, in Greek translation, the word justice is actually doing things well. Okay, so the quality of doing things straight, actually was what was taught in the republic, okay, and then even in the academy, that was actually what was taught. But at the end of the day, the same justice that Socrates actually stood for was what he was killed because of. And so Plato actually hated, the concept of democracy, because he thought that, democracy leads to injustice. Democracy leads to, it leads to all things, that are negative. So if justice, doing something right, and of course liberation is not actually guaranteed under democracy, then of course what is the essence of actually practicing democracy? So he went ahead to look at the fact that, okay, he went ahead to look at the fact that for every society to actually become an ideal society, it is either the philosopher becomes king, or kings actually study to become philosophers. Okay, so that is actually the political philosophy of Plato. Thank you very much.